Presented by Climate Power Education Fund. Does big oil care about our streets flooding or our home burning? Not according to an ExxonMobil top lobbyist.
Did we aggressively fight against some of the science? Yes. We were looking out for our shareholders.
They care about profits, not people. Learn more at polluters.exposed.
Hey guys, it's Tori.
And Anissa.
And we have some intel that we think you're going to want to hear.
The challenge Spies, Lies, and Allies is coming to MTV with more international challengers than ever before.
And we live to tell the tale. We are so excited to give you guys the inside scoop on every single episode right here on MTV's official Challenge podcast.
Listen to MTV's official Challenge podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Matt Rogers here. You may know me as the co-host of iHeartRadio's Las Culturistas podcast, but I'm also now hosting a brand new show, the official HBO Max Movie Club. To take a deeper look at some of the fantastic films coming to HBO Max in 2021, I'll be sitting down with fellow comedians, friends, and the very folks who created these incredible blockbusters to discuss the inspiration, challenges, and joys they encountered in creating movie magic. Be sure to subscribe and listen to HBO Max Movie Club on the iHeartRadio app, HBO Max, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So when I was like 31-ish, I was in a steady relationship. I had enough money to survive. Had a good job. I was like kind of secure.
Mm-hmm.
I started having panic attacks.
Oh, wow.
Like really bad panic attacks
Yeah.
where I like couldn't deal with the world and I was like on a couch shaking.
Mm.
And I ended up going to therapy.
Yeah.
And I Googled it and learned about it, and this got really fucking deep. I didn't expect it to go here.
Were you bald when the anxiety was going on?
I was bald. Yes, I was bald.
Okay,
at this time.
well, there you go. There you go. All right. Hello and welcome to Bald Talk, the podcast where two bald comedians interview actors, writers, directors, musicians, homemakers, and really anyone who is bald about being bald. I'm Brian Husky, bald.
And I am Charlie Sanders. I am also bald.
And, well, Charlie, today...
this is a historic day.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is probably a paradigm-smashing episode, even though I'm certain many other podcasts have done this.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're doing is, so it's almost like if David Letterman was having himself as his guest.
We're each a 50% of David Letterman.
Yes. So what we're doing is we are interviewing one another. We are one another's guests.
This is going to be really bizarre. So
the host becomes the guest, and yet the guest is also the host.
And it's constantly rotating.
It's such a massively meta situation.
This is going to be a weird episode, everybody.
Yeah. Hold on to your brains.
Yes.
Or go ahead and just drop that acid and listen to it. But, I mean, honestly, compared to all of our guests, no one is more bald or fascinating than we are.
That's true. Yeah. We've been lowering the bar just to get the podcast made.
Yeah. I have no idea if you prepared anything. I have an intro for you if you want to hear it.
Wow. I have prepared nothing. I'm sorry.
Cool.
But I can definitely improv it. So.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me do it. Okay. Charlie, today's guest is an Emmy-nominated and WGA award-winning writer, actor, producer, and improviser who is best known for his work on Key and Peele. I got it right that time, right?
Correct,
Key and Peele?
yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And for his fantastic YouTube sci-fi comedy series, Weird City. Mm-hmm. He has been an active member of the UCB for maybe 15 years, at least back when...
20.
20?
I believe, yeah. I was 21.
Oh, God, that means I've been over 20 years. Okay, that's daunting. And he also is the co-host of a wonderful comedy interview podcast, Bald Talk, with some other random bald dude. Please welcome Charlie Sanders to Bald Talk.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Sure.
What was your show called, Brian?
Mr. Neighbor's House.
Mr. Neighbor's House.
And Mr. Neighbor's House, too.
Okay. My guest.
You have a guest?
I do. is photographer, bassist, lovely human being, close friend, counselor of mine. He was in one of the first sketch groups I ever saw that blew my mind, the Naked Babies.
Nice.
He's been a UCB performer for at least over 20 years because I showed up 20 years ago and he was already on stage.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
And he created Mr. Neighbor's House and Mr. Neighbor's House 2 for Adult Swim. He's been on Veep and many, many other shows. It's Brian Husky.
Oh, it's me. Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Charles.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
It's a real looking in the mirror pleasure. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's a little strange, I got to tell you. We've been like co-hosts, like we're gunning the same way for a year and a half or something.
Well, in a way, it's sort of like we're like a happy couple, and now the kids have moved away, and we're sitting there having
what are we gonna do?
We have to talk to each other. We have to get to know each other again.
That's true. We knew each other for a long time, but we got to know each other like over doing this podcast, basically. Like we've known each other not well, but for a long period of time.
Yeah, there are a lot of. I realized that my daughter would be like, "Is he your friend?" And more I'm like, yeah, I'm friendly with. I know him, and I've known him for years.
Just, we're both bald.
Somebody at the theater. You know what I mean? There's so many people that we've known for like
so many people like that.
So insane that we've known people for like 25 years. Like, yeah, I've actually never eaten a meal with that person.
I know, isn't that weird? Like you and me have never hung out one-on-one except for once.
Right.
When we both got vaccinated and you stopped by my house and we went for a walk.
Right, which was all of like 15 minutes. I know.
The only time you and me have been together alone.
I mean, at the genesis of this thing, like when you... So the idea for the podcast was Charlie's. He was like, I got this kind of a comedy idea for a podcast where we're just going to have bald guests. We're bald, and we just asked them about being bald only. Yes. Very Conan-esque, kind of like minimal.
Yes, exactly.
And then I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And then I started thinking like, well, I feel like it might be good to get into a conversation. And then it sort of turned into like a conversation thing. But the meeting for that was genuinely like the only other kind of hangout we had prior.
It was at La Poubelle, and there was like a bunch of our comedian friends were sitting there with us. And they were all like, oh my God, you guys should do this. This is such a good idea.
Yeah. So we had the drunken inspiration.
Were you drunk? I know I was drunk.
I was a little something. And then when we met again, to sort of like go over, like we wrote something up.
Oh, we met then. That's right.
Yeah. But I was going to ask, was there any point in working on the, or like, you know, you had the idea and I sort of gave my like angle on it. Did you feel at all sort of like, hey man, back off, this is my idea? And you're like, because I felt like this was your idea. I didn't want to step on anything.
Not at all. I didn't feel that at all.
That's cool.
I'm not like that. I'm not like really precious about shit. I just like, you told me your angle and I was like, I would say like I was the creator and you were the innovator.
Ooh, I like
to think of inventors in the 1800s or something like.
Yes.
What if there was a bulb with light? And then you were like, yeah, well, we'll use a little thingy in it to make it happen and blah, 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 blah. Like when you told me like, oh, it should be about like male insecurity and stuff, I was like, damn, that's a dope idea. Yeah. Like, no, I didn't feel stepped on at all.
And ironically, I was insecure about my position on that.
I'm not very like that. I don't know. I find it easy to collaborate. And
I think I probably asked that because I know that I went through a period where I was like, I wanted to be that way. But I would always, it was always a little bit of an injured feeling. I'd be like, oh, but wait, I mean, I didn't hit a home run just with my idea. Wait, I'm not amazing?
I think you did hit a home run. I mean, I think that's what made
no, but if the idea for the podcast had been
if
mine,
you had been in my shoes,
and you were like, well, here's my angle, I would have been like, no.
I don't know why I'm not like that. Like, I feel like most people we know are like that, but for whatever reason, I'm just not.
Well, that makes that does. I mean, it's reflected in how easy you are to work with, and probably that people want to work with you a bunch. I mean, people want to work with me too, but I want to be as open and insecure as I possibly can on this one.
I'm an artist, I'm insecure about stuff, but not shit like that. I don't know. I like collaborating with people. I think it's fun.
Yeah. I've gotten there. It took me a long time. I think it took me a lot. Doing Naked Babies was a big learning curve for that. Writing stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Oh. You guys seem so cool and like figured out. Were you not?
No, we were very cool. We were almost
Okay.
like, I think we were a little codependent, honestly. Like in our,
Oh, really?
We were always kind of like worried about the other people's feelings. And then the more worried we got about the other person's feelings about stuff, the more we would get protective of our stuff.
Of your own ideas.
Of our own ideas. Not really, but like it would come out in ways.
Yeah.
And then, remember that there's a sketch group that had Brett Gelman, John Daly, Vadim
Newquist or something like that.
I can't remember Vadim's last name, so sorry.
Sorry, Vadim, if you're listening.
Yeah, so sorry, dude. And then Jake Folganus was their director, but they were a sketch group called Mr. Ass.
Oh, Mr. Ass. I remember them, yeah.
And we used to joke about how they were like the other version of us because they would just have these screaming arguments. And then
they would?
Oh, yeah. But the screaming arguments would always go into like deep-seated emotional shares.
Oh my God, like, really?
Because sometimes we're at the theater, we would just have like, ah! And they're like, man, it just, I feel really vulnerable right now when you say that about. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a version of us.
That's kind of funny. No, I'm just not like that. I don't know. I remember, though, I will tell you, one thing I loved about Naked Babies, you guys were one of my favorite, if not my favorite sketch group at the time, like whatever this was, 2001 or something. Mm-hmm. You had the video opening. This is before the internet. I mean, the internet existed, but it wasn't prominent yet.
Yeah.
And so you guys had the TV screens up on stage.
Right.
And it was like somebody was getting chased by a car and somebody else was in the shower. And it was like this really funny, cool multimedia thing that I'd never seen before.
Oh, that's cool.
I remember being kind of blown away by that.
It's on YouTube, actually.
Is it really?
Yeah, we were trying to do the sketch show. We were trying to sort of pitch as like, we were taking a little bit of a page from Mr. Show in that we're like, okay, the live show will give you an idea of like what it could be. And so we wanted to do like, it was supposed to be that kind of like cheesy, sitcom intro where somebody walks in the door like, oh, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah.
Laugh.
And then it gets all twisted.
And then it gets like somebody's like stalking them.
And then you had the sketch where there was like 2 stand-up comedians at the same time or possibly 4.
Yeah.
Saying the same bit. Yeah. Love that bit.
Thanks,
That was good shit.
Good times. Good times.
Good times, man.
Well, let me, I do want to, let's just, our show is about bald stuff. And you and I charm in. We're very charming.
We're charming.
We'll charm in the middle of it, in the conversation. We'll smooth our way into the convo.
Anything. We could smooth our way into anything.
Doesn't matter. But that's been a funny backdoor to kind of knowing each other, was sort of us talking about just that stuff, like our physical insecurities, because because a lot of it, you just don't know. You never know. Somebody's like, really? You don't have that vibe, but people's internal dialogue is very constant and But you're very chill. Like when you started Go Bald, were you very chill about it?
Yeah, I didn't care.
You did not care? How?
I didn't care. I know. I assumed other people didn't care, and as we've done whatever we've done, like 50 some episodes, turns out everyone cared but me.
Yeah, I know. You should the government should study you or something.
Like, I don't care. I'll just shave my head. Fine.
Wow, that's so interesting. I know it's the same as sort of like your creative part, where you're like, better idea wins, or let's.
I don't know why I'm like that. I'm just like that. It was like with my show Weird City. It was like there weren't a lot of us. There were 2 other writers besides me. But even like if actors improvised a line, if it was funnier, I don't have it's not my line. I'm great. The whole thing's my show, so it'll seem better if it's better, and that's all true. I give a fuck about.
You claim everything. Wait, so let me ask you this: if you had your hair up till maybe 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and then you went bald, do you think you would be as rolling with it, or would there be a little bit more stakes to it because you've got Camille?
I think not. I think I would have been more freaked out by it. It happened so early that like I hadn't even acted that much, so I didn't have that thing of like, oh, I look this particular way or whatever,
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to think, like, I have acted forever, but like really, like probably being on Conan was the first I ever acted, like really acted, and I was already starting to go bald. So by the time I was like really on TV, I'd done like some weird like what's it called? Public access shows and stuff like that before that.
Yeah. But you had done theater stuff, right? Like, did you go to school for theater? Or you didn't? No, you just...
I didn't go to college.
You fast-tracked it right into comedy stuff, right?
I started doing comedy sports and just, like, being a fucking maniac. And then...
Well, see, people like you were so intimidating to me when I started doing theater.
Really?
Doing at UCB. Yeah, because I came in at, like, 28, 29.
Oh,
and
okay.
I had all these people, like, I was suddenly in classes with all these people who were like, yeah, I did, like, high school productions and regional theater stuff. And some of them had gone to theater school. And I felt like such an imposter a lot of times.
Yeah, you and Gail Ann Dorsey talked about that. And I think you brought it up a couple other times.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have the opposite of imposter syndrome, where I'm like, Hollywood should give me more money.
Damn. You need to turn yourself into like a motivational guru or something, I think.
Oh, maybe, become like, what's that guy's name?
Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins guy?
Yeah. I mean, you could fill a Holiday Inn, a banquet hall.
Oh, easily.
Very easily. Be great.
No, so what's it like to have imposter syndrome? What does that feel like?
I mean, it's not like a constant thing. I think it's imposter syndrome to me, or my experience is just, it's kind of like it feels like a tug of war between the thing that I love and I want to be a part of, or I want for myself, and then feeling like, not that I don't deserve it, but I don't have the skill set to earn it.
Oh, earn it. Okay.
Or if I'm given the opportunity, that I faked my way into it, And honestly, I mean, at this point, I don't feel that way.
That's good.
But, I mean, like doing Conan, doing commercials without ever having any experience of being on a set or cameras or all that kind of stuff was very insane. Even like I had to do an audition for Mad TV, and that was just self-taping stuff, especially in like the early 2000s, where it's just like a video camera.
Yes, I even sans imposter syndrome, I didn't enjoy that.
yeah, but it sort of felt like. But I've heard a lot of artists talk about that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always been. There have been different versions of it. When I was playing in a band, I felt like I was an imposter because I just sort of was self-taught.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a little bit of like, it's funny, I was talking to my girlfriend about it this morning, of like people who that we held up on a pedestal. And I think I held a lot of creative artists and people up on a pedestal as this idea of that they were a rarefied being.
Oh.
Even if they were very human, I was still just like, but there's something special about them.
There's a magic rather than...
There's a magic, or there's a rite of passage that they went through. And I think that's the difference. Like, I didn't feel like but I didn't realize I was having that rite of passage in doing stuff at the theater. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's a rite of passage for sure.
Yeah.
I feel you, yeah. But you had like a horrible childhood, right? I mean, isn't that...
It was not horrible, but it was enough. There was, I mean, let's get into that stuff. I mean,
let's go deep, man.
Let's go deep. But the thing, so we both we grew up with alcoholism in our developmental periods.
Both parents, for me were.
So my mom, my birth dad, they split up because he drank and he had some depression problems. Mm-hmm. And then she remarried to a guy who drank. As
they do.
And he had some, I think he had some paranoia problems. I know we did. Like later on, found out that was sort of, and once he got medicated, I was like, oh shit, sorry.
I guess I shouldn't have been afraid of aliens.
Yeah. But that completely informs so much of like, how I deal with authority figures. Anybody who's starting up, that's sort of like, it's a big determinant of how you deal with authority figures, or what your idea of your value is.
Yes, totally.
But I also, I want to do a polling of comedians of like, so how much per capita, how much dysfunction is there? Per performer?
A lot, I think.
A lot.
90%.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's why you went into comedy? Was not why, but it was I don't know. an unconscious kind of like instigator?
No, I don't.
No?
Yeah, I had both alcoholic parents. Mm-hmm. Both were physically abusive to me.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
That's okay.
Do you want to talk to them?
No, they're out of the picture at this point.
Okay.
Violence, lots of terrible shit. No, I more was like, I just felt like a misfit. Like high school didn't work for me. I mean, I did okay there. Socially, I did fine. Like I had a lot of friends and stuff, but I just knew I'm not going to be like a dude that goes to college and gets a degree and gets a job and sits in an office. Although I did end up sitting in an office writing sketches for Key and Peele, but that's very different.
Yes,
it was
wonderful.
Very different. Yeah, a wonderful experience. But I started doing comedy when I was 15, and I was doing improv. And at 17, I got into this touring theater group that did plays about why you shouldn't do drugs and stuff. And it like toured. And there was like one funny character, and I like auditioned and got it.
Yeah. And
they paid you. And I got out of school. So
oh man,
it like gave you permission to get out of school or whatever. You had to like sign this thing or whatever. And it was nothing. It was $20 a show or something. But I was like, oh fuck, you can make money doing this.
Can I ask? So at this point, like what, as far as like your parents and they're struggling with the disease and and being physical, did that continue all the way up until high school? Was there like a period
till the day I moved out at 18 years old?
Damn.
Yes, the whole time.
Because my thing was more, there was a period from probably when I was like 7 until I don't know 14 would be these periods where my dad would like go into a depression, and he'd drink, and then he'd get violent, and then he'd apologize, and it wouldn't happen for a few months. And so I'm curious because it's like the difference between, because I mean, even how you've sort of talked about it and stuff, it's been very just like, yeah, this is the state of affairs for me. and I have a much more internal thing where I think I thought about it all the time, but nobody knew about it. So it was like this weird, weird kind of, not something I was keeping secret, but it was almost like a secret or something I forgot about and I'd remember, and it'd be this weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I had that shit. Yeah, totally. For sure. I like when at some point in high school, I like told a friend, oh, my dad beats me up or whatever. And he was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I did keep it secret, and yes, it was, it sounds really like kind of new agey and dumb, but like, I think this is kind of what you're saying. It's like, I kept it secret for myself in a way. Yeah. Like I just was like, I don't think about that.
Well, that's the only way you can kind of maintain. Like it's a survival thing. Yeah.
When you're in it, it's you gotta survive, that's survival. And so when I was like 31-ish, I was in a steady relationship. I had enough money to survive. Had a good job. I was like kind of secure. Mm-hmm. I started having panic attacks.
Oh, wow.
Like really bad panic attacks where I like couldn't deal with the world, and I was like on a couch shaking. And I ended up going to therapy. Yeah. And I Googled it and learned about it, and this got really fucking deep. I didn't expect it to go.
Were you bald when the anxiety was going on?
I was bald. Yes, I was bald.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go.
And I read about it, and it was like, oh, some people that have traumatic childhoods, like you and I have.
Right as Charlie is getting deep into his talking about his anxiety, his Zoom has frozen. So I'm just going to vamp until he's back into the scene here. If we have any callers, they can give us a call. Any questions they have for Charlie. I think we're going to get through this. One call is coming in. Yeah, one caller is curious. They're asking, how come we've never been able to call in before? Why did we have to wait for this special interview episode? I don't know. I'm not sure why. Charlie says he's trying to get back on right now. But if anyone is listening and they feel if they're struggling with anxiety, or they're in kind of situation where someone's drinking or abusing them, the best thing you can do is tell people about it, and get some help on it.
Talking Bald, yeah! Remember your last urgent care visit? It cost $100. Half your day stuck to a plastic chair and a lingering paranoia that you caught COVID in the waiting room. We are changing that. At HelloWisp.com, you can privately message a doctor and pick up your same-day prescription in just 3 hours. That means less time waiting and more time doing the things you love. Our doctors specialize in treating and preventing those annoying reproductive and sexual health issues that affect all humans. Say bye-bye to the doctor's office and hello Wisp. Treat herpes, cold sores, BV, yeast, UTI, and STIs online. Or order birth control and emergency contraception. All picked up same day. Get the medication you need to prevent and treat symptoms. Before you get them, right when you get them, or when you're in a pinch. No waiting rooms, no judgy doctors. Be heard, get care, feel better. Isn't that how all healthcare should work? Take 10% off your first order with the promo code HEALTHY only at HelloWisp.com. That's hello, WISP.com.
Hey everybody, it's time for today's STEM tip. Want to know how to make your selfies even better? Okay, let's use science. The best time for photos is golden hour. That's the moment right before the sun sets, when the atmosphere scatters blue and violet wavelengths, making perfect, soft, and golden selfie light to show off that beautiful face of yours. Click. Check out Chic and STEM for more inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
The stories that are affecting the Black community are being covered on the Black Information Network. Not a show or a podcast, BIN is a 24/7 news network covering stories from a Black perspective. Listen to the Black Information Network on the iHeartRadio app and get news for and by the Black community. Anywhere, anytime. Keeping you informed, keeping you engaged. The Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Only on Bald Talk.
So this is Brian Husky with Bald. Normally I do a talk show or an interview show called Bald Talk, but my co-host is not on the Zoom right now, so we're just doing Bald. I am Bald, and today's a special episode. So if we want to sort of like fill the gap a little bit, maybe we'll play a little music. Johnny's back. I just vamped.
That's amazing.
Vamped so
Thank you for vamping. I don't know what God doesn't want me to tell my story.
He doesn't want you to tell your story.
Thanks for vamping. I appreciate it.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, so I started having panic attacks, and I learned that like sometimes when you like in my 20s, I was always hustling to like make my rent and all that shit. And I got to a point where it's like, oh, I'm in a happy relationship. I have a safe place to live, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's when like the trauma comes out. And so that's what happened for me.
Right.
And so then I went to therapy for like a long time, like 7 years or something.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a challenging but lovely experience.
Yeah. And you feel like it did the things you needed it to do?
Yeah, I do.
Because I did therapy for I started in college and did it for a long time. And I think I was doing like almost like a Western medicine approach to it. I would just deal with what I was bitching about that day. There wasn't kind of like bigger issues.
What's an example of that, if you don't mind giving it? Like,
I guess it would just be like complaining about an audition that I did badly on, or that I'm resentful that this is going, or I'm stressed about money.
Right.
And this is kind of on some of the therapists because they knew my background and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, why did you connect?
I know, they would never be like, well, do you think this lack of
has something to do with what happened to you?
Yeah. But I started doing one of the support programs, those group program things that we're not supposed to say what it is, but I will say that it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
And you're bringing me to it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's strange how that there was something about that worked so much more immediately. Not immediately. I recognize things so much more quickly. Like I would, and I think a big part of it is like, one of the tenets is like you're kind of turning over your control over to something outside yourself. And I think when I was doing therapy, I was very controlling. I was very.
You were trying to control rather than not trying to
control.
Right,
and I didn't know it,
right.
Right. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and therapy's really long. Like, that would be my only complaint about it.
Really long and it's expensive.
7 years is a long time and a lot of money.
Yeah.
As opposed to programs where it's like, it's more about like what your day-to-day life is, I feel like, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, therapy or the program stuff?
Programs.
Program stuff it depends on how you want to do it.
Uh-huh.
But it's sort of like the difference is it feels like if you're talking about your day-to-day stuff and it's important enough for you to sort of like, why am I obsessing about this? Why is this kind of getting my craw?
Right.
It's about the bigger thing, It's like the couple having the argument about the dishes. It's not about the dishes.
It's not about
the dishes.
Yes. Totally. That's going to be our next podcast. It's not about the dishes.
Oh man, we are changing.
Will gets a taste.
Yeah, exactly. There's something else? Therapy. Oh, but the other thing is like when I started doing therapy. Like my dad was very resistant to it, and it was only when my mom started to do therapy that our family dynamic changed because she was kind of under she was codependent in that relationship, and she kind of like enabled a lot of in a helpless way. It wasn't sort of like she was like, yeah, go ahead and do it. She just was. He was.
Yeah, you just.
He's kind of he's a bigger dude.
We've seen it.
Yeah,
it's like you just fall into those dynamics, and many people never get out of them.
Yeah, I know. The other thing that you mentioned a minute ago was like something I totally did with my girlfriend. There's one time I was like, I'm always talking about what's going on with my family and my dad drinking and stuff, and she's like, you never talk about it. Like, you have mentioned it to me maybe once.
Whoa, really?
I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, like, what's going on? And so I had to kind of tell her, like, all this stuff. And she's like,
by the way.
And in my mind, I was just like, oh, shut up. Stop talking about it. Like, it was just always going on.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I hear you.
you.
I get in my head about that shit.
About which part?
Oh, like my mom's an alcoholic. And her life's really fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have phases where I don't think about it for like a while, and then I'll have phases where it's like all I think about.
Yeah. That's one of the hard, I mean, that part of it where you're just like, well, I can't save these, they have to go to this place.
I can't save these people. Dude, okay, we're going deep. So I'm going to go deep. I don't know what I believe in, God, the universe, what the fuck. I'm like, my position is I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was a day very close to Mother's Day where I had heard from one of my brothers about some really bad shit that was going on with my mom. Mm-hmm. And that's the day you texted me, I'm outside your apartment. Do you want to hang out?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this. I was
do.
Did you magically know that I desperately needed a friend to show up right now?
Oh, no. I mean,
isn't that weird?
I love that. I mean,
there's something going on there.
That let's analyze it. But I that kind of stuff, I do think there's a certain amount of we are resonating energy and information out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when you make a connection with other people, they tap into it. You know what I mean? It sounds woo-woo, but I genuinely...
I mean, it was like an hour before you showed up.
Yeah.
My brother was like, yeah, Mom is might get evicted again.
Oh, my God.
What the fuck it was. And I was like dying. And then like you were like, hey, I'm near you. We're both vaxxed, right? Should we hang out?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. It just felt like kind of weirdly magical or something.
I love that.
Yeah.
This connection does make sense. But I saw this documentary the other day about, I think it was about trees. No, it's about mushrooms. There's an amazing documentary on mushrooms, man, on Netflix. But it is insane. And it's insane in the sense of like, well, they've been around for billions of years, and they have a neural network between themselves and
the mushrooms
do. And they also facilitate a neural network between trees And trees can know when other trees are in need of, if they're sick or they're in need of healing and stuff.
What the fuck?
And they can actually send some of their nutrients and stuff to other trees.
Holy shit.
And they're literally, they found out that they're like parent trees and then children trees that will stay connected to one another.
Whoa.
And so they'll support one another.
So we had some human version of that.
I think we had some human neural network mushrooming going on.
That's our next spinoff podcast.
Yeah, man, we're just generating.
We're gonna have so many.
This is a factory.
Will's gonna get so rich.
Wow. Or even more niche than our bald focused one.
Than bald talk.
Only talk about mushrooms.
Ah, that's funny.
I know. I love that stuff though.
I dig that shit for sure.
I mean, I brought this up on a kind of a recent. It was the one with Doug Jones, just asking him about Christianity.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like I've gone from, because my dad who drank and was violent was a former pastor, and he had true rage at the people that he used to who were part of his congregation. Yeah, because they
wow.
He had his first marriage ended, like fell apart. He had an emotional breakdown. And then when he came back from it, he was like, I'm just glad I have this church. And they're like, well, actually, you can't keep your marriage together, and you had an emotional breakdown, so you got to go. And he felt very betrayed.
Oh,
yeah.
No. Oh, yeah. I can see that. Yeah, that would piss me off.
So my experience of like anything spiritual short of my grandmother, who is kind of the exemplary of what you want a Christian to be, has always been like, it just seems like it messes people up. But as I've gotten older, I feel like there's a difference between like spirituality and religion.
Yeah.
And I think spirituality is just like, probably like a massive part of it is just a true vulnerability and an openness to everything, because everything is connected.
Yeah.
Anyway, here, hit this joint, man. Let's talk a little bit more about it. I'll pass it over Zoom to you. Put it in the chat.
A chat joint.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, man.
No, I agree. That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a complete out of left field, not related. But I wanted to ask, when you guys were writing Naked Babies.
Good segue.
See, even after a year and a half, I can't do a segue. How'd you guys write? Was it like the four of you all sitting together, or did you went off on your own and wrote your sketches and came in and gave each other notes, or like what? How'd you do it?
It was kind of a range. It started off as just the first time we were met up, we didn't know each other. Corddry and I were.
You didn't know each other?
Well, Corddry and I were roommates.
Oh, right.
And then Corddry he knew Bowie, John Ross Bowie, because they were working at Scholastic Books together. Just
really?
Like a temp job that they sort of.
Okay.
And then
that's hilarious.
I know. And then Seth was in 101 with Corddry, and Corddry, I remember him being like, "Oh, this guy in that class is funnier than me. I hate him." And
Seth is probably the funniest.
He's
person.
so fucking funny.
There's no doubt about it.
And I know he's getting a little light on top, so we got to get him on here. But he, so Corddry was sort of like, I know these guys.
He was jealous of Seth?
He was jealous of Seth, which is always a good sign. But before that, there's his friend Jeb Barrier, who was in Corddry's Shakespeare. Yeah, great guy. In his Shakespeare touring company with him. And then his other friend, Mike Lombardi, that he went to college with. We did a version of that first. And it didn't quite gel.
Okay.
Yeah. But then, so we got together, we had a bunch of sketches, and then we would just kind of give pitch jokes to each other on the sketches we had.
Yeah.
And then once we had all these sketches, we kind of realized that we had a commonality that we were always joking about, which in retrospect was like, oh man, that is such a early 30s, late 20s something kind of privileged angst thing of we're always talking about how much we hated ourselves and all these kind of emotional sort of self-floggings that we did. Because the first show we did was called We Hate Myself. And so that one we tried to...
That sounds like a Fish album.
Yeah.
We hate
myself. And so, yeah, so after that, once we kind of figure out each other's people, then we would bring in a sketch and we were more open to helping each other out. And then as it kind of went on, we just started like bits that we were doing with each other would become sketches. And we would just sort of say like, do you want to write this up?
Yeah, so, totally.
Yeah. So it evolved.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it's funny, like I was thinking about that of just like I love that period of my life. I love that, like the urgency and the importance.
The urgency.
But it was also crazy making. But it was also like it's also so juicy and so like
it's so juicy. Yeah. I don't think I'd want to go back to it, but I'm very grateful I experienced it.
Yeah.
The early 20s and 30s in New York in the comedy scene, I mean,
I know.
That was some crazy ass motherfucking shit.
Well, how did you guys, because you did Buffoons with Bobby Moynihan and Eugene Cordero, right?
Yep. We did, me and Bobby were on the Herald team, and for our listeners that don't know, that's what improv groups at UCB used to be called, Herald teams. Yeah. And I was on the Herald team, Police Chief Rumble with Bobby and a bunch of other people. Right. And we did a sketch show that was really fun. And we had a midnight slot. Mm-hmm. The show was at midnight. Oh my God. So you get to the bar at 1:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
You know, it was insane. But me and Bobby had a bunch of sketches we wrote together that didn't end up in the show. Mm-hmm. Because there was 8 of us and there was a bunch of different material and was fine. But we were like, oh, maybe we should do something. Like, do you want to do something with these sketches? We were like, just kind of like wrote together and stuff.
Yeah.
So then we wrote Buffoons, and we wrote everything pretty much together, like the two of us sitting at a computer.
Did you guys just write it just to have some stuff or just to do it?
Yeah, just to do it for fun. I don't know why.
All right.
And then, and we had a running character. It was, most sketches were me and Bobby, and then there was like this pizza delivery man that showed up in every sketch.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, oh, let's have Eugene do that character.
Yeah.
So in our first show, Eugene played that character, and then he became part of the group. And for our second, third, whatever show, he also wrote sketches and stuff.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And at that point, I think we wrote alone. And then you were talking about with Naked Babies, like we would meet up once a week or something and read the sketches and then pitch jokes on each other's sketches and stuff.
Did you guys have the intention? Because our thing, like when Cordry got The Daily Show, it was kind of like, I don't know. It was like Pete Townsend being like, "All right, The Who, I'm gonna take off." We're like, "What? No, wait."
I mean,
in my mind, for myself, I had built this. I'd been like, "All right, here we go. This is for the next 20 years." Here we're gonna be the kids in the hall, the next kids in the hall. I'm tied to these guys. Yeah. And then Cordry's like, I had the show, bye. I was like, wait. Oh, no.
But what about
me?
No. Bobby got SNL, but...
Didn't you guys do something for NBC? I remember talking to Lisa Lang Gang that you guys had...
Yeah, we had a pilot deal or something. I can't remember really, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some pilot we were writing for NBC at some point, but... Bobby got an SNL, but I enjoyed doing it, but I didn't have those expectations of like, it's the three of us for the rest of our lives. You know?
When we did the very first like comedy festival we did was the Austin Big Stinkin' Comedy and Improv Festival, which I think they had maybe 3 of them. But we found out that some TV people were coming to it. And so we were asking Katie Roberts, Ian Roberts' wife. Ian Roberts is one of the founding members of the UCB. Very funny, genius. We were like, okay, Katie, what do we do? Like, we're going to do our sketch show, but when they come to us with offers, like, how do we handle it? And she was like, why don't you guys just go do the show? And we were so convinced that we're like, somebody's going to see us. It's going to happen. And in the meantime, we never got into like things like Aspen, the Aspen Comedy Festival, the year after year.
No, we never got into Aspen. No, we tried every year. I sent so many SNL audition DVDs of being like, you need 5 impressions. Okay. Who's bald? I guess I'll do James Carville. I'll do Dick Cheney.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. We never got into Aspen. We auditioned so many fucking times, like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, every year. Every
year. Every motherfucking year.
Lou Wallach.
That guy.
Lou Wallach. Dealing with Lou Wallach.
There were so many gatekeepers. The bureaucracy. I don't think people outside of show business understand the bureaucracy of show business.
I don't think people outside this conversation know what we're talking about, really. Probably for our podcast listeners.
It's like, what are they talking
like, why are they ragging on people from the past?
This is so boring. Oh, there's so many fucking gatekeepers that you have to be like, they come. I remember like we tried to get into Aspen one year and they were like, okay, you're almost into Aspen, but you got to make these 17 million changes to your show.
Yeah, completely.
And then, that happened to you guys too. Yeah.
We're trying to get,
okay.
So we did a show called The Sunshine Gang, which was this improv.
I remember The Sunshine Gang.
It was like this improv show that was the premise was it was a WPA, a Work Projects Association improv group that was going around the country and performing for like labor camps. So it was all 30s, 40s improv stuff.
Yeah.
And so we wanted, we're trying to get into it, and they kept giving us these insane notes, and one of them was does it have to be in 1930s? Can it just be them? We're like, what? So we just used the name, we're the Sunshine Gang, and improvised?
Why?
I know. Like, well, what do you, I mean, it's more contemporary. Like, no, we're not going to change that. You dummies.
That's amazing.
Well, let me ask you this, Charlie, and this is my transition, since we were just talking about comedy and our comedy beginnings. What do you love about comedy?
I like making people laugh.
You like it, but you don't love it. I see.
No, I love it. I don't know. It gives me joy. That's it.
Cool.
I mean, I don't have I wish I had a deeper answer. It was like all the way from the TV show I created to cracking a joke in the kitchen to my wife.
Yeah.
They're the same to me.
Yeah.
I just like, I get a laugh from you on this podcast. I'm happy. That's
totally.
How about you?
Well, mine's a 2-part question. Okay. And then you can turn the tables on me if you want to.
Copy that.
Or you can go, we can get super political all of a sudden. What do you hate about comedy?
I don't like the business side of the TV business. I mean, I find it just, oh my God. So often I'm like, is there something else I can do? I don't think I really could do something else, but like we were talking about the notes, it's like the bullshit endless. I mean, the endless.
Yeah.
I mean, just getting this podcast to be made, and I'll say it on the fucking podcast, was so hard.
Yeah.
And so long.
Once it gets into lawyers' hands, and they're just like...
And it's just it takes so long. Like that, I find so frustrating. It's like, I just want to get to making the art. I don't know. I don't know how to figure it out, because it's like, you could be like, you just have a regular job and then you paint your little paintings of an acorn, turn an acorn into a penguin with your paint. Nobody gets to tell you if you can do it or not.
Right.
But we do it for a business. So it's like the business part of it is like 75%.
Yeah.
And it's just that slog kills me.
Yeah.
I just, just the endless agents, managers, lawyers, executives. It's just that part fucking kills me.
I know.
Why do we have to wait so long? Like making Weird City took 4 years.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's 6 episodes. And I'm proud of those episodes. I think they're great, but like that's a long motherfucking time. Yeah. It's like this podcast, like how long we were talking about it in the beginning of 2019, I think.
Yeah. And we started recording before we had any contract stuff.
That's right.
And I think we had already banked like 10 episodes or something by the time we signed papers.
That part I don't like about comedy.
No.
Yeah. One other thing I like about comedy, though, and this is, I believe, specific to the improv world, is like people are cool and supportive. I love that. I love that. Like I'm not a person that has enviousness. I'm like, my friend gets something, I'm happy for them.
That's great.
They even get a part I went out for, I'm happy for them.
That's rad.
And I think the improv world's really good at that. It's like, hey, we're a team,
Yeah.
So I like that too.
All right. I like that.
How about you?
What do I love about comedy? I mean, I think that's the baseline is that kind of like, there's definitely a little hit I get from getting a reaction out of someone.
Oh yeah. Always.
But I feel feel like maybe I said this, but there's something I kind of realized, like, because I've always liked kind of weird art and not weird music, but like indie rock and stuff that's sort of like it's not mainstream, and there's something that's always been about comedy, even like sort of like, unless it's like really cookie cutter, but the subversiveness of comedy has always turned me on. Like, it's always been.
I love that. Yeah,
it's always given me a feeling of not power in a negative way, but empowering. It's always
empowering.
You know,
yes,
it's always
totally.
And also, I just in like an intellectual way, I love the kind of like inversion of ideas that happens. You know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah, totally.
Because it is like to make a point with something, and you come at it from this other angle, and you still like, oh my God, now I get the point, but I see this other view of it, this other kind of approach to it. That's my favorite thing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, which has been a weird, like, as sort of like cultural shifts are happening, a lot of stuff in comedy is like, man, you can't do that anymore, which is great. And I'm kind of realizing like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff that was like an easy approach to that. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Low hanging fruit.
Which I think our theater kind of had a pretty good had a history of sort of the punk aesthetic that we had was in a very protected, rarefied point in history, you know, where it's sort of like,
it was very unique. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was like Clinton era and then Obama era. And it's like, yeah, cool. We're all liberal, and we're going to say these things or kind of go there and make you think about it.
We're going to say shit you're not supposed to say and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And now it's sort of like, oh, yeah, unknowingly, because we got a reaction out of it, might have hurt a lot of feelings. So sorry about that.
I'm glad some of it's not on tape.
Yeah, I know. This is a funny thing with like a lot of improv. I was like, oh, thank God we wouldn't.
Oh, thank God nobody had a camera at that time. I don't know what I said. Improv, it's like, especially in your 20s, I mean, I would be like hammered on stage, screaming shit, and you're like, I don't know what I said. I mean, I didn't mean it evilly.
Yeah.
I just was trying to get a laugh, and I'm sure some of it was not PC.
Oh, man. My ex-wife, a friend of hers who is a devout Christian, came to see this improv show we used to do called Feature.
Never good.
Yeah.
Oh, Feature. I remember Feature.
Yeah, so we'd improvise a movie, like a full movie. And so we did like we did sort of like a Godspell musical, or like we did like a musical version of Last Temptation of Christ. And it was as insane and disgusting as you would imagine. And she would not look me in the eye. She would not talk to me afterwards. She didn't feel comfortable around me. And and at the time I was like, oh man, that's so funny. And now I'm like, oh man, that probably
I really offended
and affected her. And so my take on that stuff now is like, oh yeah, there's, and I have the same recollection of like my friends who would come and hang out with my comedy buddies. They're like, y'all are funny, but it's exhausting.
Oh my God. I mean, being at McManus, like the bits that would happen.
It's just, there used to be, what was it, on Comedy Central, there was this tour that Zach Galifianakis and, oh God, the guy who was paired with Steve Agee on Sarah Silverman's show. I can't remember his name.
Jay Johnston?
No, big tall guy.
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name. Zach Galifianakis and Maria Bamford and this other guy and someone else. And there's one point, and they're just like, they just show them hanging out and doing shows and hanging out in between. And
Brian Posehn.
Brian Posehn, very good.
Yeah, that was Olivia that gave
Olivia coming in.
Thank you, Olivia.
But he, at one point, they were doing these bits, and like Zach Galifianakis just says like, I feel insane. This all feels so insane. I love it. It's so insane. And there was something, how much he was relishing how insane it felt that I totally identified with.
Yeah, like, I love that. Yeah.
And it's that part of like doing comedy, especially us at that theater and stuff. It felt like okay, that was definitely a period where I was in a space.
We're in history. Like we're there.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I don't know.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you remember a feature that was like, do you know the movie Paper Moon?
Yes.
It was like a paper moon. It was like set in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And you were a tap dancer that Seth Morris was driving to a gig, and you ended up tap dancing on his face in the car crash by any chance?
I don't remember that.
Improv shows are so funny like that, because that was like probably one of the maybe the third show I ever saw at UCB.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always stuck in my mind. Is you were a tap dancer trying to get to a gig in Atlanta or something.
Yeah.
And Seth, I don't remember who he was, but he was driving a 30s car and picked you up, and you tap danced on his face. Then you guys crashed.
That's really funny. Yeah, I remember 2 improv scenes.
I know, same. I don't remember any improv scenes.
No idea.
We're like jazz musicians. It's all going to just be I don't know. I don't remember what we did.
We're going to end up in an alleyway, just strung out. Like jazz musicians do.
Like they do.
Yeah, that's what I love about comedy. Yeah, and I concur with your thing of I hate all the business part of having to do comedy.
Fucking brutal, yeah.
But I also, now I think one thing I don't hate about comedy, but I wish I'd been more aware of was what a defense mechanism it was.
Oh, yes. Still
that that it was just the number of times people were wow, can you just be here and be cool?
Be normal for a second.
Yeah.
I'm very bad at that.
I don't think so.
Oh, thank you. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
No, I don't think of you as doing bits and there are people who you're holy crap, man, you are.
Take it down a motherfucking notch.
You are having an internal panic attack externally and think you're hiding it.
Oh, good. I'm glad I don't come across that way.
Yeah. Let me ask you, let's see. So, given that you've done, how long would you say in earnest you've been doing comedy stuff? 26
years.
Yeah. I guess I'm I don't know how much longer. 29?
Yeah.
Fucking 20. No, I don't want to say that.
Lie. Yeah, maybe some. I mean, I guess.
If I started at 29 and I'll be 53 next month.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm about
24 years.
42. Okay. So we're kind of about the same. I count high school because I was doing
That's true.
I was pretty out there in high school. I would go do open mics and stuff all the time and do really weird bits.
So in all that time, all this stuff that you've done, is there something you're most proud of? Is there sort of the thing you're I can come away from all this stuff and I did that. I feel really good about it.
Bald Talk.
Seriously?
I have a 3. Yes, for sure.
I love it.
I have a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
Key and Peele.
Yep.
Bald Talk and Weird City.
Yeah.
Is my 3-way tie. Yeah.
I would concur. Those are good.
Yeah, they were. I feel like I did something unique, said something, you know, it was funny.
Yep.
So those are my the top 3.
I dig it.
How about you?
I would say this. I would say Mr. Neighbor's House,
yes.
1 and 2 of it. And then I would, let me think. I was going to say Veep.
Yeah, Veep is great.
Veep is great, but I'm thinking the times, this is weird. Well, no. Yeah, I'll say Veep. I would a bonus one would be, we opened up for Tenacious D, Naked Babies did.
Oh, shit. That's cool.
Yeah, we did 2 nights at the Bowery Ballroom with them.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was insane. And it was we won the crowd. We had been told that they destroy opening acts. They do not let them talk. Dude, they just are assholes to them.
Really?
And we killed both nights. So that's something.
Oh,
that's cool. Something I've always oh yeah, that was that. As far as a feeling I had of just yeah, that was a good one.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
very cool.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
When you think of Isaac Newton, you probably think about apples, gravity, and his famous laws of motion. On the podcast Newton's Law, you'll hear a different side of the father of physics. a man who later became England's most ruthless lawman, who wielded the power to send criminals to the gallows.
So who was this ruthless detective? This hard-bitten crook catcher totally unmoved by the pleas of a desperate man? It was Isaac Newton. Yes, that Isaac Newton.
You'll also meet the Moriarty-like crime kingpin who evaded Isaac Newton at every step.
William Challoner was a con man who at one time had been the most successful counterfeit coin maker London had ever seen. But now, he was awaiting execution at Newgate Jail.
It's a fascinating look at the little-known life of one of history's most famous men. Listen to Newton's Law on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
NFL Fantasy is back.
Let's go!
For the biggest season ever. More catches, rushing yards, touchdowns, and fantasy points. From the best in the league to the rookies that could make this your year. Just sign up and draft. It's easy to play. Optimize your lineup with one click.
Oh, have some of that!
And watch exclusive player stories.
Miraculous!
NFL Fantasy. It couldn't be easier to play. Download the NFL Fantasy app today.
Talking Bald, yeah!
I mean, we host this show. We know how to do it.
Yes.
A lot of times we'll end it, and then you'll ask another question.
And I mess it up.
You'll keep it going.
Keep it going.
But I jotted down a couple of things. If you were to do another job, and I'm not saying that you've been kicked out of the industry, but if you were just like, I'm done, is there anything you'd be like, I would be content doing that?
I don't know if this counts, but I don't know, advertising? That's kind of like writing sketches, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've had such a weird life where I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, maybe is writing novels different?
Probably.
Does that count as different? I would maybe try that.
Yeah. That would definitely go to a more solitary.
I don't want to be solitary though. I like working with people.
You could be one of those work for 4-hour guys and then go out and have your afternoon backgammon crew.
At the local pub.
Yeah.
Gosh, I just don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I've thought of it. There have been a couple times during the pandemic where I was like, shit, I don't know. I don't know if our industry is going to.
Oh, I do know.
What's that?
I couldn't really do it, but in a fantasy world, I'd be a baseball player.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Maybe if I'd started when I was a kid or something, I could have, but that's if magic is allowed, I'd be a baseball player.
That's a good one. What would I do? Because I've done other stuff.
Yeah, you did a lot. You did photography, and you were a bassist, and
and they all. I guess I know I have to do something creative, so I'm trying to think what other thing would be creative. I mean, the other thing is the older I get, and this is just the older you get, your ambition just dwindles. You're like, man, come on,
whatever. Yeah, I don't care.
But I feel like the older I get, I would probably get more out of some kind of service position. I don't know, working with kids, but they would drive me crazy.
I could see you being a cartoonist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe you even I don't know if you draw, but you could draw them, or I would see you more as the writer, and you team up with somebody that draws.
Okay. I'll do that.
Oh, you're gonna do it?
Yeah, I was just looking for an idea of it.
Suggestion.
Just switch it up pretty abruptly.
But you're good with a turn of phrase and a little funny nugget and stuff like that. So I could see that.
Maybe I should be work at a hotel and concierge service.
No,
and just answer phones.
Don't do that.
But if I can turn the phrase,
not that there's anything wrong with
and be charming, I would never follow through on it.
Maybe
but I would just. I'm just like the buffer.
Oh, I would be a game developer, like you see my Dungeons and Dragons games behind me.
Oh.
I consulted for D&D.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I could do that maybe. That would be kind of cool.
I mean, the other stuff I think I would want to do, I was like, I'd love to do some other version of art, I don't know, some weird painting or something, but I don't have the skill set. And also I'm like, I've always chosen things where you might not make any money doing this. every single time. So
I know. How do we get rich?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty content with my earning level, which is honestly one of my life goals. Was like I wanted to make enough money that I was comfortable and I could provide for my family, and that I was doing something I love.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm the same. I guess I wouldn't mind making $1 bazillion, but
I'm not gonna if it comes up, I'm not gonna be like no.
I pass.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm totally good. But actually, I thought about this just with the whole Bezos thing. I do sort of feel like I would give away.
So much, yeah.
There's only, because I mainly, and it ultimately is kind of a self-protective, selfish thing. I feel like I would go crazy. Like you lose sight. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It becomes
crazy.
Yeah. Or you the value of it becomes this other thing.
I don't need that much. I wouldn't mind like being a little richer. Mm-hmm. I'm not rich, but having more money is like. I even have like really great neighbors. They're like quiet and nice and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't mind just having like a little more space, like a little more lawn.
Yes.
That kind of thing. I could get into.
I definitely need more space. My ex-wife, I watched one of her dogs the other day, so I had 3 dogs and my daughter here, and I was losing my mind.
That's intense, yeah.
Totally losing my mind. All right, so I guess what did we learn? Well, we'll take people offering us more money.
Yeah,
but
we'll take money.
We're not hunting it down.
No, we're so self-actualized. We don't need it.
We're pretty chill about sharing about our alcoholic
histories. Both have alcoholic parents. And we're bald.
And we are bald. Yeah, and then comedies, we like making people laugh. And it's
making people laugh's fun.
What else? I don't know. Is this what we do to guests? Do we summarize the things?
No, we've only ever... We're so much more interesting. We're summarizing ourselves instead of them.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, okay. Well, Charlie, thanks so much for coming on Bald Talk.
Thanks for coming on Bald Talk, Brian. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming.
No. Thank you for coming on Bald Talk.
No, I've always wanted to have
pleasure.
My co-host as a guest.
I've always been wondering about your life and stuff, so it's nice to have you.
I've always wondered what you look like, and
you'll never
I
know.
Still don't know because your terrible lighting setup you have.
I'm still a shadow, like in a mafia confession video.
Normally, my co-host does this, but if it's cool, I'll just do it this time.
Yeah, go for it.
Listen, everyone, thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram at Bald Talk Pod. Be sure to rate, review, download, subscribe, worship us.
Yes.
And we put new episodes and stuff up on our Instagram, so check that out. I don't know if my guest knows anything about our Twitter, but if he wants to take a stab at it.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Bald Talk Podcast, right?
Yeah, that's what I usually say. So that's with
go.
The same enthusiasm that I always do it. All right. Well, Charlie, I love you, my friend.
Love you, brother.
And everybody, find a bald friend and cling to them. Yep. Never let them go.
Cling to them with everything you got.
Hold on to their sweaty pate. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Life is unfair when you lose all your hair, but now you've got someone to talk to. Brian and Charlie have a hairless party, and they are all there to invite you. No hairdos, no shampoos, interviews, only on Bald Talk.
NFL Fantasy is back.
Let's go!
For the biggest season ever. More catches, rushing yards, touchdowns, and fantasy points. From the best in the league to the rookies that could make this your year. Just sign up and draft. It's easy to play. Optimize your lineup with one click.
I'll have some of that!
And watch exclusive player stories.
Miraculous!
NFL Fantasy. It couldn't be easier to play. Download the NFL Fantasy app today.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, it's Brian Baumgartner, and you do not want to miss the next episodes of The Office Deep Dive.
Billie Eilish is calling in right now if you want to say hello to her.
Really?
She really is.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
Listen to The Office Deep Dive on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.